anybody can do in this business.
But then you don't believe in love songs. Love songs, you say my love cannot be true.
Vous souvenez-vous de The Partridge Family? Eh bien, de 1970 jusqu'à 1973, David Cassidy était la vedette de The Partridge Family, une des émissions les plus populaires des années 70. Tellement d'ailleurs qu'elle était en reprise pendant 17 ans. À 40 ans, David Cassidy, aussi beau et charmant, marque son retour sur disque après une absence de 12 ans en Amérique du Nord.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Oh, great. I'm well. Yeah, I'm well. Thank you.
When did you get here?
This morning. Yeah.
What'd you bring this guy with you?
I don't know. He's been following me around the whole day. Great jacket. What a really nice.
How was your day?
My day? Oh, it's just been sensational. Or if I were in LA, I would have said, well, it's just been fabulous.
Not real? Wouldn't you have said it's been real? No?
Yeah, it's been real. It's been real busy.
Yeah. The reaction's really good, though.
Yeah, it's great.
Are you nervous a little bit before you walk in to do any interviews, or?
No.
No?
No, I got beyond it. This is beginning to make me nervous, though.
All right, let's go.
Get in the car, will you?
Can you use shit through the window?
Sure.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
We all right here, Dan? All right, ready to go.
Okay.
David, your return to the music scene is sure to spark some curiosity seekers wondering if David Cassidy has changed at all. You expect that? You're running into a lot of that?
Well, it's a good thing that people have curiosity to begin with, and that's the first thing I'm pleased about it. It's the first record I've released in America and here in Canada in 12 years. Hey, Steve, how you doing? We got David Cassidy here for you. You ready? Here he is. What's happened in 1989, I did a radio show in LA, and there were a couple guys that are really outrageous on this really serious rock and roll, very heavy album-oriented radio station in Los Angeles. They're very cool, they're very popular, very hip, and they were fans of mine, so they invited me down. So I went and I brought 8-track demos to them, and I played them on the air for 3 hours. And at the end of it, I had all these messages, and I had 3 different messages from 3 different record companies with 3 different offers. They wanted to make offers for me to sign a record deal.
Wow.
That day. This is it. It's like a rock and roll story. Hey, how you doing, man? Good, how you doing? Good. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, too. Sure. Hi. Hi. How you doing?
Bob McGee, by the way.
Thanks. Hi. Bob McGee. How are you, Bob?
Very well, thanks.
Where do you want to do it?
Right here, it's fine, actually. Debbie just happened to be in here, and it's her lucky day. There you go.
All right.
Nice to meet you, too.
And you too.
What are you doing now?
Oh, I'm just, I'm going around with this television crew trying to make a documentary about my life so that when I die, I can sell it to be worth a lot of money.
What were you saying that this is the 20th anniversary?
Well, today is the 20th anniversary of the first time that the Partridge Family was ever aired on ABC.
Wow.
Wow.
September the 25th, 20 years ago today. 20 years ago today.
I became famous, I guess. Huh?
That's a good day.
And it's in Toronto.
I think I was famous before that, though. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, 20 years ago at this time, I had a hit record. I think my record had gotten to about 5 at this point. I'm not sure if it got to #1 yet, but it was close.
Which one?
I Think I Love You.
I think I love you.
To go back a few years, though, honey, you had a life definitely before the Partridge Family.
Yeah.
Most of the fans that you've acquired during the Partridge Family thought that that's where David Cassidy started.
Right.
What were your dreams way before the Partridge Family? What did you want to do with your life?
Well, I was, contrary to public opinion, I was a pretty wild boy in my youth, yeah. And I got kicked out of 3 different high schools, in fact.
I read that. I was
being,
like,
I was, I wasn't dangerous, but I was adventurous, and I was undisciplined, and I was wild. So I ran with a really pretty wild bunch of guys that I suppose we wound each other up a little bit. We got each other in trouble.
Why were you undisciplined? Is that part of growing up with famous parents who maybe weren't around as much as they could have been or should have been, or?
No, in fact, I didn't grow up with my father and my stepmother. I grew up with my mother, and she was not famous. And I lived, my dad wasn't really famous. In fact, I think I became much more famous than he was, and he happened kind of the last part of his life. And I think that I just am, as an individual, somebody who has never been afraid to experiment with life and to taste things, to try things, to do things, to live. In fact, when I graduated from high school, I moved back to New York. I'd been playing in rock and roll bands and blues bands mostly, you know. I really knew that I wanted to be an actor, and I had been working with the LA Theater Company. So I moved back to New York to work in the theater in New York. And after about 9 months, I'd been going out on auditions, and I'd been studying back there. I got a job in a Broadway show that was unsuccessful. But it was my first professional job, and a guy from CBS Films saw me in it. And he brought me out to LA to do a screen test. So the rest was history.
I try in so many different ways to say just the words that I need to say. I sing from my heart, but we're so far apart, and all my love is here in my song. But then you don't believe in love songs. Love songs, you say my love cannot be true.
Because I became so visible as that guy that I played on TV. People assumed the company that owned my name and my likeness, they assumed that that was me. And when a company sees the opportunity to make millions of dollars off of you, I in fact went to them and said, please don't do this to me. Please don't make me this guy.
You mean you realized the dangers even then at that age?
Before it even happened.
You saw what...
I went to the teen magazines and said, please don't put me on the cover. I don't want to be that. That's not who I am. And they looked at me and they said, sure, kid. Go on home, build yourself a swimming pool, you're going to be a rich guy. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about, I'm going to make a lot of money. It robbed me of my identity. Meanwhile, millions of people all over the world loved it and loved me for it. So I felt like, as it became successful,
they don't really like me for me.
I was afraid, if I show them who I really am, what I'm really about, are they going to like me still? So I was afraid of rejection, you know? Yikes.
What do you feel when you look at that?
It's a scary thing.
Why?
It's a scary thing. Well, because, again, this is me. These are photographs of me, and these are the closest things to me that one could find at that time. The music that is contained in these albums show glimpses of who this guy is. Only glimpses. They weren't my albums. They were albums that were produced by the same people, pretty much, that produced all of these albums. And The World of the Partridge Family, featuring David Cassidy, was... These albums were made for a character I was playing on television. The songs were designed, and as you can see, they're focused for an audience that at the age of 19 when I did them, and 20, they weren't records that I would have made, as much as there were really good songs on here. They weren't the kind of songs that I wanted to cut. So...
What did you want to cut at that time?
Well, I was very much in much more progressive music, much more serious rock and roll. Cherish is the word I use to
Cassidy.
Well, of course they thought this was, they didn't know who David Cassidy was. I mean, this
And when
was
they found out?
David Cassidy. Well, you must understand that there was very little time for me. I couldn't cultivate relationships.
Right.
I worked from 6 in the morning until midnight, 7 days a week. On the weekends, I would go out on the road. I do the television show 5 days a week. And I do concerts on the weekend. People look at you when you become that famous and that successful like you're not human anymore. You're a god.
That's right.
You're something more than that. So for me, it became difficult for me to have a one-on-one conversation with people because they weren't looking at me anymore. They were looking at all of this. They had all of this information in there thinking, this is who I'm dealing with. So to try and have a conversation about, you know, I'm really not like this would be impossible.
Pointless. Did you want it to end? Could you?
I ended it. I retired. I said, that's it. I retired after a world tour that I did, and actually ended up in '75, I ended up finishing. And it became, before I went on this world tour, it was a stadiums, you know.
Huge audiences everywhere, and all the kids raving,
Yeah, and it was, they described it as World War III, okay? So when I would go like to Australia, New Zealand, Japan, the United States, the Astrodome, places like that, it was incredible. They had, you know, not seen the likes of what would happen. At that level and on that scale, I became sort of the vehicle for the event. It wasn't any longer about me going out there, a guy playing music. It was the event. How many people are going to pass out? How many people are going to have to be treated for? The media picked it up as a thing. So I couldn't stay in hotels anymore because of they would be afraid the girls would be downstairs. They ripped up limousines, they tore up, you know, it became a thing.
Do you remember the date that you made the conscious decision, this is it, I am officially retiring?
Before I went out on this tour, I can remember sitting with my manager and saying, I can't, this is it. This is the end of it. And I'm going to close the book on this, and I'm not going to work again. I don't know, maybe never, but not for a while. I have no life anymore. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I know I can't do this anymore. That roller coaster keeps going faster. Stop going past you. It's coming at you. Hey, up, down, all around that roller coaster. What a day for a daydreaming boy.
You said something that I find extremely interesting. You said it's very lonely at the top, but it's lonelier at the bottom. And that was something that I felt, because everybody can sort of relate to that. I mean, yes, the hype and the whole thing must have been incredible at times, but to find yourself maybe alone after a few years of all of this sort of dying down. What did that do to you? Was it cleansing? Did you have to really reach rock bottom? I mean, did you have to go through the drug whole thing and the rehabilitation and the...
I hit rock bottom emotionally probably about 10 years ago, when I had been out of it almost for 5 years. It took me that long to unwind, unravel, completely unravel. And I was really lost. I'd been married unsuccessfully, very unhappy, didn't have a career anymore, really, didn't know what I wanted to do.
Was it that you didn't know what you wanted to do, or that people weren't hiring you because they still kept seeing you as Keith Partridge?
I think it was a question of both. I could have gotten hired, but the kind of work that was available to me was not the kind of work I wanted to do.
How did you pick up the pieces? What did you have to do?
I went through analysis 3 times a week for about 5 years. And I went through some unsuccessful relationships that caused me to do that, and some failure on my own part to address a pattern that was happening in my life consistently over and over and over again. Making the same mistakes, getting burned the same way emotionally, and feeling like, well, if this continually happens, there's no reason in the world why it's not going to continue to happen the rest of my life unless I do something about it, unless I find out why. You know, what is my need to fail in this relationship? I mean, I really was miserable. I was really angry. Anger. I found that when I would wake up, I stopped drinking as a result of this because I couldn't drink anymore. I would drink and get angry, you know, and I'd think, the next day I'd feel terrible. So I just changed my life completely. I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking. I'm a bore now, you know? Don't ask me to come to your party. No, I'm a bore now. There's 110 in here, and I'm putting on a winter's jacket. Just imagine chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Carrying the stigma around of being a teen idol is the worst possible thing anybody can do in this business. It's as if you get stamped, you're over, you're finished.
Did you miss the fame at the same time? Was it like a catch-22 in some way?
No, I didn't really miss the fame at all. In fact, I was always famous. Once you're that famous, that doesn't go away. People everywhere I went, I couldn't get the kind of work I wanted to get.
What did you want to do? What would have been the ideal role? I mean,
as an actor, what did I want to do? Well, I wanted to do a lot of the roles that I guess that Tom Cruise is now getting offered, or the kind of roles that, I mean, Tom Cruise is a lot younger than I am, so, I mean, if we look at the roles that Dustin Hoffman's done, you know, I mean, there are, Harrison Ford gets great roles.
Have you ever been allowed to read for that type of a role? I mean...
no. They're usually... Usually those kinds of roles are offered and developed for stars. But in order to get there, you have to have the power. So I lost all the power. I gave it up. So it was really a question of Hollywood is really a difficult place. Television is a difficult place. It has a reputation of being a heartless, soulless, almost mindless town that is only interested in devouring you up, digesting you and spitting you out. And I didn't want to be a victim of that. I thought the way for me to get back and do what I wanted to do is get back and start the way I started, the theater. So I started working in class again. I started working in the regional theater. And I think that that really started to bring me out personally. I started to get my life in order. And I started to do some good work and get acknowledged, get paid nothing for it, but to get acknowledged for it. So that really helped my own self-esteem. Hi. Hi. Everybody works here. Great. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Thank you very much.
So we even got the David Cassidy promo.
Yes.
And we opened it up. It's got the video and the CD. You know, how excited am I to have this? David Cassidy, I think I love it. I think I love you.
How do you feel about the word comeback? I mean, you haven't been gone, you've been here. And then there's like...
I have a certain amount of resentment about it, but, you know, in people's perception of me, it is. In essence, I'm coming back into the music business again. I've been writing songs, you know. I have a song on the new Asia album that I wrote. I think my songwriting has helped kind of bring me back. In fact, not helped, I think it's really responsible for me being where I am today. And I've been writing as a writer, been demoing lots and lots of songs.
Do you have a studio at home?
Yeah. So it's not like I've been away from the recording studio and I hadn't been near it. And I also made an album in 1985 in England that did really well, and in Europe. So I haven't been away from it that long. In America, it's the first album that's going to be released in 12 years, though. So that, I mean, I didn't put any unnecessary pressure on myself. I know there are a lot of people that are curious, and I hope that there are a lot of people that will want to see what this guy's really about. And I think the songs have to speak for themselves.
Touch again, I've been used to it. Hearts don't break, they just bend. I'll come bouncing back. You barely left a scratch on me.
He looks great. I think he's aged about 2 years since 1970. And the best thing is, girls, he's not married yet. I asked him.
I mean, I know that there's, 10 songs on this album. I'm sure that you have shoeboxes of demos of them.
Well, I have shoeboxes of ideas that I'll tell you what, I got to a point where I never demo anything unless I think it can be a hit, or unless I think it's good enough to where I would cut it.
Yeah.
I started writing with some people that make their living writing for other people, which was a good experience for me, because I found I'm not really that good at that. What became very obvious to me was that I'm my own person, my own style, and I don't know, if I had worked and spent a lot of time not being an artist, I perhaps could have developed more of that skill. There are people who do it so well, you know, you'll say Diana Ross, and they'll write something that sounds like Diana Ross. I can't do that. I just write whatever comes to me, what feels right, and if it fits, great.
What is the writing experience for you? Is it strictly a job? Is it a cleansing for you? Is it a sort of, I'm in a loner type of mood, I need to just sort of sit down and write?
It's expression. It gives me an opportunity to paint. This is how I paint. I paint with this. When I'm feeling, usually when I'm feeling emotional, or I'm feeling alone, or I'm feeling exposed, I come up with something. Sometimes if I'm feeling really good, I'll come up with something. But most of the time, my writing comes out of pain.
When you look at what Susan Day is doing, L.A. Law, great job, great part. Do you see yourself doing a series like that? Is that something that you would like to do?
There are a lot of reasons why I don't really see myself doing another television series. I could tomorrow something. There aren't a lot of great roles in television. I'm not sure I want at this point. I've devoted an awful lot of time in the last few years to writing my music career, that I could afford to give up the amount of time that I would have to give up, sacrifice. And I think I'm too selfish about what I want to do. I want to go out on the road. I want to play again. I can go out and play the new stuff, and I can play the old stuff. And those songs, I went and listened to them not long ago, and they really have a life. You know, they're great. There were some really good songs that, for me, they've lied dormant for years. No one's brought them to life again. So I want to do that. I want to, for the millions of people that around the world that bought those records, I want to bring them to life again, and with a new sense of energy, you know, my own sense of like, here's what they're about for me today. And that's exciting for me.
Eh bien, c'est évident que les fans de David Cassidy ne l'ont pas oublié, car présentement, il est dans le top 30 des palmarès américains et canadiens. Mais pour ceux qui se rappellent de lui en tant qu'acteur, on vous laisse sur des images d'un film qui malheureusement n'est pas à l'affiche ici au Québec pour le moment. Voici David Cassidy, l'acteur dans Spirit of 76.
What sign are you? Because my mood ring just like totally changed colors.
Sign?
You know, of the zodiac. I bet you're a Capricorn. Caps are always so forgetful.
Capricorn.
I knew it! I'm psychic. Well, not really. I mean, I can't bend spoons or anything, but I can usually tell signs.